Welcome to Totally Awesome Outdoors, guys. I'm going to do a quick video on starting a fire with birch bark. Now, silver birch, or Betula pendula, the Latin name, is native to the UK. It's quite common. It's a deciduous tree and it's very noticeable because of the actual silver-looking bark to it on the outside. Where I am at the moment, I'm in a coniferous forest, but I'm right on the edge of a deciduous forest as well, so there's lots of silver birch around. I'm not going to show you how to take the bark off the tree. I'll do that in a different video, but ideally you're looking for a tree that's dead on the ground. Obviously a more fresh, the fresher it is that's just died, the better the bark will be. However, with dead silver birch, over time the bark is kind of the last thing, because it's so waterproof, the bark is actually the last thing that will kind of rot. The inside of the tree will rot first, and often with a dead silver birch it's very easy to pull the bark off itself. Now what I do is I keep all my kind of tinder and fire lighting materials in a tinder pouch, leather tinder pouch, and what I've done here is, this is bark that I've collected over just whenever I'm out and about really, and I've got the time, I can go to any dead trees and pick up some silver birch. And what I've done is I've just rolled it up in a ball there, and I've just put an elastic band around it just to keep it together. But you can put any sort of natural cordage if you want to keep it in a bundle like that. And I've got a mixture of kind of long, big pieces, which are kind of my base plate. I like to call it a base plate. They're the ones that I'll make the scrapings off of. And then I've got smaller, thinner ones like this that I can then light from that initial flame. Let me show you how I get the fire prepared. One of the most important things when you're starting any fire really, especially in damp conditions, you can see I've had a fire here before, this is where I kind of regularly light my fire here at my camp, is you need a good fire lay. And all I do for that is just create a raft. So these are just 4 pretty similar sized sticks to make it a flat platform, and therefore that's where that raft is then where I can start my fire lay. And then what I'll do is, here's the birch bark rolled up, is I'll just take the kind of main, that looks like a good one there. As you can see, it's pretty curled up at the moment where it's been wrapped, so I'll need to just go around it like this, just to fold it kind of back on itself, just to flatten it out really. You want to be careful because the older the bark really, the more easy it is to crack, and you don't want to split it too much. As you can see, I've just split it there, but it doesn't matter too much, it's just a personal preference really, just to make it a little bit easier. I can still get scrapings from that. So next thing I'll do, and a lot of people will use the inside of the bark, I prefer to use the outside of the bark. I don't know why, I guess it's just a personal preference. At the end of the day, you're still going to get the same material really, that once you've started scraping away this surface as you will on this surface here. You want to be, the thing with silver birch is that it's got lots of natural oil in it, highly resinous, and it's great for fire lighting from a pharisee rod, but you just need to create a dust pile first. This is my this is the knife I'm going to use. It's just my normal Bushcraft TBS bore Bushcraft knife that I use. It's a fairly big knife for this kind of work, so what I'll need to do is hold it a little bit higher up the blade. Obviously be careful of your fingers, just so I've got more control for my scrapings. And I'm just going to go with the grain. I'm not going to go against the grain that way, because I'll split the bark. So I'm just going to, as you can see now, it's starting to pick up some material, and I'm just going to keep going with the grain, and you can start to see that resinous redwood below there. I've made a bit of a split there, so I'll bring that material down a bit this way. You've got to be careful, you don't want to flick the you don't want to flick it all everywhere, because this is all important stuff. So you've got to just gently scrape away, make a nice dust pile. As you can see, building up a good dust pile now. All I need to do is put a pharisee rod to that, and it should take light fairly quickly. This is birch bark is one of the best methods of fire lighting in rain or wet conditions. It's one of the best ones, purely because of that oil in that bark. It's so good for lighting from a pharisee rod. Obviously a match would take hold much quicker, but not all of us will carry matches with us, and obviously when it's raining and things like that, you may need a pharisee rod. So what I'll do is I'll just sweep this dust pile over to there a bit. And I'm just gently scraping towards me. I'm not actually scraping that way, I'm only scraping towards me, just so I can keep the control of that dust pile. Obviously if it's windy you're going to want to try and do this in a pretty sheltered area, because any kind of gust of wind will push this pile away. Now obviously when I put a flame to that, put a spark to that bundle there, that's going to go up relatively quickly. So I've got some extra bits of thin bark here which I'll just place on top to help catch light, and then you want something a bit more flammable as well to keep it going. So what I've got, and what I'm quite lucky with here, is I've got some dried bracken, some dead bracken which is abundant in this woodland, and I've also got my twigs over there to then get the fire going. Okay, so I've got my bundle there. I don't know if you can see it. This is still quite curled up, this wood, so you may not be able to see it. Now, first thing I need to do is just to kind of clean my pharisee and rod a bit, just to get a good strike from it. So I know that's ready to strike, because I don't want to make a mistake and knock this bundle everywhere. Now, you can strike from up above, and you may get lucky with a spark, but to be honest, I find placing your pharisee and rod at the base of the bundle, just gently, and then just push down, and as you can see, there's a bit of a flame there. There we go. Place a few more on top, because it burns relatively quickly. As you can see, it's crackling away. There's that resin in there. So get a few bits going, as much as you can. And then here's where, now at this stage, I'll come in with some dried bracken, which will go up fast. As you can see, bracken's starting to take. And now that fire's well away, but the bracken does burn quickly, so just get a bit more on there. Get my dried twigs, place that on there. Put a bit more bracken on to draw that flame through the twigs, like so. And that fire is now going to be well away. It doesn't have to be difficult. Again, I can place another bit of dead bracken on top to draw that flame through those twigs to try and light that fire. That dries out the sticks as well at the same time. And the benefit is even when you're going out on daily walks and things like that, you can find these birch barks. You can find a bit of birch bark, dead birch bark, and get a fire. You know, just collect it. You can just collect it over time, which is what I've done here. And then it makes fire lighting in the rain much better, because you've got a piece of dried birch bark then, and ideally that's what you want, is dried birch bark. See, that raft is now allowing oxygen to get underneath that fire as well. If you've made the fire straight from the floor, the chances of air getting through it is much slimmer really. You're reducing the chance of the oxygen and air getting through it. So by raising it up on a raft, you've then got a lot more chance of the oxygen getting through that fire, and it keeps it going and keeps it burning for much longer. Birch bark's also quite recognisable from the lenticels here, which are you see it more on older trees, but they're basically the gaps, the splits in the bark, and that helps let off the gas, lets the tree let off the gas. So just interesting, it's quite easily identifiable on a silver birch, the lenticels there. There's another native tree in the UK that's very similar to silver birch, and it's called the Dorney birch, and that is also very similar. It's quite easy to get confused with the two. It's very white, the bark, it's very white, it's very distinguishable from other trees. You want to be careful when you're taking off. I'll do another video on actually taking the bark off a dead tree. You just use a knife. It's actually very simple. You just need to be a bit careful when you're using a knife. But as you can see, I've rolled these up into a ball, and I store these. These are nice and dry now. These have been stored for weeks now in my tinder pouch here, and it's great. I can just keep them in a ball, put a band around them, wrap them up. As you can see, I've got the char tins in there as well. Pop them in my tinder pouch, and they're ready to use next time straight away. They're nice and dry, and they'll start a fire really quickly.